4 months and 28 videos ago, I mentioned that Donkey Kong Jr. was one of the hardest arcade games ever. Well, I was stupid back then because video games have now taught me that being a fry cook is the hardest profession you can ask for. Data East is the name of a company that means very little to most people nowadays and probably didn't mean much more to people back when it existed. It's bankrupt now, but Data East used to make video games and pinball machines. They were the champions of making games that I've heard of but haven't actually played. Bad Dudes and Joe and Mag, to name a few. They also made a game called Road Blaster, which I assumed was Road Blasters, a game Atari made, which I quite like. It was so misleading that I wrote a short tangent about how fun it was and how Wreck-It Ralph mentioned it once, and I didn't realize my mistake until a few minutes after I had written it. It was a complete waste, but it gave me a new tangent to go off on, so silver lining. Almost none of their games are remembered by anyone with only one real exception, which I'll be talking about today. Burger Time is one of the all-time classic arcade games, and while it's nowhere near one of my favorites, I still respect its inventiveness and creativity. The main reason I didn't care for it as a kid was that whenever I played it, I would try it once, make no progress in the first level, and then move on to something else on the multicade. The NES version is, from what I understand, a faithful adaptation of the arcade game except for its colors and the size of the screen. In that regard, it's extremely similar to the Donkey Kong trilogy. In fact, this game is essentially Pac-Man mixed with the Donkey Kong stage where you step on the things to make the floor fall out. Except instead of a plumber or a pack person, you play as a chef, and instead of being chased by ghosts or sentient fire, you run from sausage, eggs, and pickles. Your goal is to walk on the pieces of giant burgers to make them fall down from the platforms and onto a plate. I may not be a health inspector, but I'm pretty sure whatever restaurant lets a chef do this would be in big trouble. This seems like something out of a particularly outlandish and stupid episode of Kitchen Nightmares. If you knock down a higher piece, then that makes all the pieces below it get knocked down as well. You can use the pieces of the burgers to crush your enemies to death, but they'll respawn immediately. A little too immediately, if you ask me. If you manage to knock down a piece while an enemy is standing on it, then it goes way farther. Although this is pretty much impossible to do consistently, considering how dangerous of a strategy it is. Oh, speaking of impossible, let's talk about the difficulty now. Burger Time on NES puts every other game I've reviewed so far to shame. It is so ridiculously unfair that I think it might be the hardest NES game I've ever played. Let me try to put this into perspective for you. There are 6 levels in Burger Time, and after an hour of trying over and over, I couldn't beat the second level. That doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in a game like this, where each run gives you like 3 minutes of playtime, that's a lot of attempts. Ghosts and Goblins is the hardest NES game I've ever tried to beat, and it coincidentally also has 6 levels. I've gotten to the 3rd level of that game. I'm not saying that Burger Time is harder than Ghosts and Goblins. I'm also not saying it. Okay, joke's over. No, Burger Time is absolutely not harder than Ghosts and Goblins. It's not really a fair comparison since Ghosts and Goblins gives you infinite continues while Burger Time sends you right back to the start. Still though, I'm genuinely baffled that I can't get anywhere in this game. After I was done, I went to YouTube to go watch footage of the other levels, and it just kept getting worse. All of the comments seem to agree with me that this game is absolutely brutal, so I'm reasonably sure that I'm not just an idiot who can't make a burger. So what makes this game so hard? Well, there are 2 main factors, so let's get into those. Okay, first up is the controls. Getting on or off a ladder requires a pixel-perfect level of precision that I am not capable of on a fast-paced arcade game like this. There's something awkward about all of the ladders in general, which led to me getting stuck on them and dying over and over again. Other than that, the controls are serviceable, I guess. It's annoying that you can't jump, but there are plenty of other games like this where you can't jump, so that's not much of a complaint. My second and much larger complaint is the pepper. You only have one way of defending yourself, which is by throwing pepper. There's also the burger pieces, but they're kind of situational. You can't jump over anything, so your defense is based entirely on pepper. You only get 5 shots of pepper in the entire run, with the only way to replenish pepper being the food in the middle of the map. Good luck getting it though, because it lasts for an extremely short amount of time and you'll almost always be blocked off by the horde of enemies. Even if you do pick it up, you only get one shot from it. If an enemy gets close to you and you throw pepper, it'll stop and become harmless for a few seconds. If it gets too close, however, you can overshoot the pepper and die anyway, making the entire thing just a waste of pepper. And a life also. You don't get pepper back when you die, so if you're careless, you can waste it all on your first few lives and be completely defenseless the rest of the game. That element of inventory management and deciding if I really want to use one of my only 5 peppers is not something I can make a decision on quickly while there are half a dozen hot dogs and eggs chasing me down. So I just don't think about it. Whenever I'm cornered, I use it, and whenever I run out super early, it comes back to bite me. Once you run out of pepper, getting boxed into a corner is an extremely common occurrence. The NES version also feels much more cramped, giving an annoying claustrophobic feeling to the whole experience. That's not to mention that the limited colors and all of the browns and oranges make this game hilariously extremely unappetizing. The arcade version made me want to go out and buy a burger, while this version makes me want to go on a diet. Another weird thing worth pointing out is that on level 2, instead of patties, you have these weird yellow things in between the buns. I know, like, limited palettes and everything, but what is this? What is it supposed to be? Are we making pineapple sliders or something? Are pineapple sliders even a thing? Just pineapple and lettuce on a bun? That sounds gross. What am I talking about? It's been a few years since I played the arcade version of Burger Time, but I remember it being way less annoying than this. You've probably figured it out already, but I don't like this one. It's not fun, and it put me in a really bad mood for the day. Maybe it was created to emulate the average experience, paranoia, and dissatisfaction of a fast food worker's life. If that was the case, then it passed with flying colors. Doesn't make it a fun game at all, but commendable effort, I guess. As for the ranking, it's low. It's very similar in quality to the Donkey Kong games, except those aren't anywhere near as frustrating. I don't think it's quite as annoying as Ice Climber though, even if it is way harder. It's a shame too, because I was actually pretty excited to revisit this game. I've heard the Intellivision version is better, but I don't know. Anyway, for my next video, I'm finally going to talk about Mega Man 2. I'm actually really excited for that since I loved that game the first time I played through it. Anyway, 5 out of 10, thank you for watching, have a good day, like and subscribe, bye!